Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Charles Alpha. My sign language interpreter is Hannah Olanyika. And just so you know that we are streaming live on Vision TV 24/7 on other social media platforms on your screen. A quick look now at some of our headlines. President Bola Tinubu directs security agencies to check activities of food hoarding across the country. Moves to alter 1999 constitution by some members of the House of Representatives past first reading. And top UN official visits Cyprus as situation worsens in the world's longest running dispute. President Bola Tinubu is expected to arrive in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to participate in the 37th ordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union. The summit for the year is focusing on the theme, Educate an African Fit for the 21st Century, Building Resilience Education System for Increased Access to Inclusive, Lifelong, Quality and Relevant Learning in Africa. Meanwhile, the First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has arrived at Addis Ababa to join other First Ladies in deliberations at the sideline of the AU Summit for African First Ladies. President Bola Tinubu has directed security agencies to check the activities of food hoarding across the country as part of measures to reduce hardship in the country. This is coming after an emergency closed-door meeting with state governors to profile solutions. State House correspondent Abraman Jibrila reports.
Arrival of the governors at the council chamber with speculations on expected positive outcome from the meeting. The closed-door meeting ended and journalists were briefed on the outcome of the meeting, which is expected to be a continuous move towards addressing the challenges confronting the nation.
The National Security Advisor, the Director General of the State Services, the Inspector General of Police have been directed to coordinate with the state governors to look at the issue of those hoarding commodities. At this point that the nation requires food to be brought out to the people so that we can control prices and put food on the table of most Nigerians. Other commodity traders are busy hoarding these commodities so that Nigerians will suffer or they will make more money as a result. So the governors and Mr. President have taken this decision that security agencies will cooperate or collaborate with the state governors to ensure that this ends.
The government is also considering the possibility of creating state police.
Mr. President and the state governors have all agreed that at this point we are seeing significant improvement in security situation around the country. Of course, this is not to say that the security situation has been solved completely, but we have seen significant improvement. There is also a discussion around the issue of state police. The federal government and the state governments are mulling the possibility of setting up state police. Of course, this is still going to be further discussed. A lot of work has to be done in that direction, but both the federal government and the state governments are agreeing to the necessity of having state police.
On the price regulations of food items, the federal government says it is planning on investing more in agriculture to discourage food importation.
There will be no need for food importation at this point. Nigeria has the potential to feed itself and even be a next exporter of food items to other countries. And we do not also want to reverse some of the progress we have seen in terms of food production in this country. What we are seeing now is just a temporary difficulty that will soon go away.
The minister said a committee has been constituted to follow up on all issues discussed for the prosperity of Nigeria. From the State House, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
While the President has approved the appointments and reappointments of the board chairpersons and chief executive officers under the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare.
Appointed are for the National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, Dr. Mansour Kabiru, Board Chairperson, Professor Moji Adeyeye, Chief Executive Officer, for National Blood Service Commission, Professor Abba Zubeiru, Board Chairperson, Dr. Saleh Yuguda, Chief Executive Officer, and for the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, Board Chairperson is Professor Folabi Lesi, Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Fatima Kyari. Pharmacy Council of Nigeria, PCN, has the board chairperson in the person of pharmacist Wasilat Giwa and Chief Executive Officer, pharmacist Ibrahim Ahmed. Others are for the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria, board chairperson Dr. Babajide Salako and Chief Executive Officer Dr. Tosan Irabo. Modibo Adama University Teaching Hospital Yola now has Professor Adamu G. Bakari as the Chief Medical Director, and for Irua Specialist Teaching Hospital Irua, Edo State, Professor Ruben Eifediyi is now the Chief Medical Director.
The Military Pension Board is to commence electronic verification of retirees to ease the process. The chairman of the board, who announced this at a news conference, says the adoption of the electronic verification will alleviate the sufferings of military pensioners and enhance their safety.
The Military Pension Board electronic verification management system is a web-based system designed to enable our pensioners carry out their verification from the comfort of their own location using a mobile device.
Selected 300 retirees from the 36 states and the FCT are in the pilot phase.
If somebody with a smartphone is in your neighborhood, helps you to carry out the verification, the person cannot steal your money. All we need is a confirmation that you are still alive so that we will continue to pay your pension.
The process is to update the board on existing military pensioners. Now, the federal government has discontinued the trial against human rights activists Omoyele Sowore and Olawale Bakare after 5 years of trial for treason. This was disclosed in a notice of discontinuance at the instance of the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, sent to the Federal High Courts in Abuja. Fagbemi, SAN, is exercising his power of nolle prosecute conferred on him by Section 174, subsection 1C of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. The discontinuation of this matter under the law is a discharge for Sowore and not an acquittal. The Nigerian Bar Association has again advocated the need for justice sector reform as a way of restoring hope in the judiciary. President of the Bar, Yakubu Maikiao, SAN, made the advocacy in Abuja while addressing the state of the nation. Dele Atumbi of our Judiciary Desk reports.
The Nigerian Bar Association is of the view that the negative perception of the judiciary is an issue that must be dealt with decisively by all. The bar converses the need for judicial officers to always ensure that in all matters placed before them for adjudication, justice must not only be served, but must be seen to be served by members of the public. The NBA advocates transparency in the dispensation of justice, as well as pointing out the need that proven judicial misconduct must be dealt with decisively.
Beyond dispensing justice, judicial officers are under an additional duty to persuade or convince the public for whom justice is served that indeed justice has been served in any given situation. This is impossible to achieve when public confidence in the judiciary has waned. Therefore, in performing this all-important function, judicial officers must be careful to observe the regulations and code of ethics for judicial officers.
NBA, as the largest bar on the continent of Africa, frowns at the security challenges facing the Nigerian nation. It calls on all the arms of government to work together to stem the tide of insecurity in the country. While noting that security is the primary purpose of government, the NBA urges President Bola Tinubu to rejig the security architecture of the country. The bar reminds the country to equally prioritize the welfare of the security operatives.
The delay in commencing fundamental reforms in the Nigerian police is a contributory factor to our nation's current state of insecurity.
The Nigerian Bar Association kicks against the alleged bilateral agreement which will allow legal practitioners from UK to practice in Nigeria. The bar expresses serious reservation on the development. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
In other news, Britain's economy fell into a recession in the second half of 2023, and it is now a tough backdrop ahead of this year's expected election for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who promised to boost growth. Francis Udojo has more.
Official report shows that UK's gross domestic product, GDP, contracted by 0.3% in the 3 months to December, having shrunk by 0.1% between July and September. Reports reveal that the fourth quarter contraction was deeper than all economists' estimates, which had pointed to a 0.1% decline. Sterling weakened against the dollar and the euro. Investors added to their bets on the Bank of England, BOE, cutting interest rates this year, and businesses called for more help from the government in a budget plan due on March 6. Thursday's data means Britain joins Japan among the group of 7 advanced economies in a recession, although it is likely to be short-lived and shallow by historical standards. Britain's economy stands just 1% higher than its level of late 2019, before the COVID-19 pandemic struck, with only Germany among the G7 countries was hit. Japan expectedly slipped into a recession at the end of last year, losing its title as the world's third biggest economy next to Germany, and is raising doubts about when the central bank would begin to exit its decade-long ultra-loose monetary policy. Japan's gross domestic product fell at an annualized 0.4% in the October-December period, after a 3.3% slump in the previous quarter. Government data showed on Thursday confounding market forecast for a 1.4% increase, while Canada is yet to report GDP data for the fourth quarter. Meanwhile, UK's Prime Minister Sunak has promised to get Britain's economy growing as one of his key pledges to voters last year. His Conservative Party has dominated British politics for much of the past 7 decades, with a reputation for economic competence. However, Labour is now more trusted with the economy, according to opinion polls. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
A senior United Nations official has made her first trip to the divided island of Cyprus, looking for the way out as the situation worsens in one of the world's longest-running disputes. Francis Udojo again has that report.
Rosemary De Carlos
Under Secretary General for Political and Peace-Building Affairs, met for about 1 hour with newly elected Cyprus President and Greek Cypriot leader Nikos Christodoulides at the Presidential Palace in Nicosia. The Mediterranean island is split between the internationally recognized Republic of Cyprus and the self-declared Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus TRNC, proclaimed after Turkey launched a 1974 invasion in response to a Greek-sponsored coup. The TRNC is recognized only by Ankara and covers the northern third of the island. There have been no formal UN-sponsored peace talks for nearly 6 years. The last round collapsed at Crans-Montana, Switzerland, in July 2017, almost a year before DiCarlo took up her current post dealing with the world's major conflict zones. DiCarlo told reporters after her talks with Christodoulides that they discussed at length the Cyprus issue and they just want to reiterate the commitment of the Secretary General to supporting a resolution. DiCarlo reported an excellent meeting with him and said she was also going to discuss further a way forward with Turkish Cypriot leader Esin Tata.
Just want to reiterate the commitments of the Secretary General to supporting a resolution of the Cyprus issue. I will, after this, be meeting with His Excellency Mr. Tatar as well to discuss further a way forward.
She said there was a very fruitful meeting with Tata, including the need to strengthen technical committees, according to a video of her remarks posted on the UN Cyprus on X, formerly Twitter. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
You're still watching the news on NTA International. We will take a break now. More reports will come your way when we come back. On legislative matters, Senate approves 5.79 trillion naira as 2024 revenue targets for the Nigerian Customs Service. It also approves 706 billion naira expenditure to cover capital, overhead and personnel costs for the service in 2024. The approvals, as recommended by the Senate Committee on Customs, aims to address infrastructure deficit for optimum performance.
5 trillion 79 billion 69 million 866,085 naira 50 kobo be approved for 2024 financial year.
Meanwhile, in line with the requests of President Bola Tinubu, Senate also confirms the appointment of Adama Oluwole Oladapo as Executive Director, Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund Board. Some members of the House of Representatives seek to alter the 1999 Constitution to pave way for transition from presidential to parliamentary system at all levels of government. While briefing newsmen shortly after plenary, the spokesperson of the group, Abdul Samad Dasuki, says the parliamentary system bill, when passed into law, will streamline administration, potentially reducing bureaucratic hurdles, fostering more collaboration between the executive and legislative branches, reducing high costs of governance, impactful on the nation's political landscape and living standard of the citizenry. The lawmakers stress the need to raise awareness on the benefits of the shifts in system of government to ensure robust public debates, stakeholders consultations, expert analysis, thorough and informed decision-making process for the future generations. Operational level warfare training for naval and joint forces is imperative to respond appropriately across the range of military operations and facilitate a more holistic approach to harnessing security challenges in the nation. Former Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Rabo retired, who said this while presenting lecture for participants of Naval Warfare Course 8 in Calabar, calls for synergy among armed forces for effective operation. Odwak Etim reports.
The threats in the maritime domain, which are complex and transborder in nature, such as piracy, illegal bunkering, and others, require a collective security approach by the maritime forces in the sub-region. This is the reason the Naval War College Nigeria has continued with its operational level warfare course to improve the capacity of armed forces comprising the Nigerian Navy, Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, and foreign participants to further entrench the concept of collective approach to addressing maritime security. Former Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Rabo, retired, in his lecture on the topic Nigeria's National Defense Policy 2017, said the policy involves the use of military as well as other resources, and it is an action adopted by government to protect its citizens.
The nuances that involved the formulation of the policy itself and issues surrounding the implementation of the defense policy. I'm hopeful that they will take to heart.
Flag Officer Commanding Eastern Naval Command commended the guest lecturer for the knowledge he shared, believing it will help participants as they journey into operational level warfare for effective defense of the nation.
Operational level commanders, I want you to take in everything that has gone into the lecture, internalize all the things that you have learned and put them to use as occasion demands.
Participants of Naval Warfare Course 8 were encouraged to take the training seriously to continually develop their professional ability to compete globally on military operations. In Calabar, Udwak Etam, NTA News.
Development partners are pushing to assist Nigeria have an effective agricultural extension service to enhance her food security drive. This brought together key players to a roundtable discussion on the new government policy for agricultural extension service. Musa Babali reports.
Nigeria is one of the countries with the lowest population of agricultural extension workers. The latest report indicates that agricultural extension workers in the country are less than 20,000. This is why stakeholders are pushing for the presentation of an agricultural extension service delivery revitalization bill to the National Assembly to establish a legal framework for sustainable agricultural extension service. If this is done, it will put in place a sustainable, harmonized, demand-driven information and communication technology for effective and efficient extension service delivery along agricultural value chain.
Nigeria cannot be exploding with the size of population we have, and we're still tilling the soil with hoe. It's not possible. We have to mechanize, we have to increase it, and it has to be friendly to youths.
Professor Ikani Emmanuel, Executive Director, National Agricultural Extension and Research Liaison Service, identified extension services as the game changer in food production.
So if that is done, and extension becomes what it's supposed to be, agriculture will change from being crude to modern agriculture and be food available for everybody and there be security.
The bill is undergoing scrutiny before its presentation to the National Assembly. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Nigeria is hosting the 7th International Conference on Peace and Tolerance as a springboard to bridge divisions among ethnic and religious backgrounds. Organized by Utuk Dialogue Turkey, the conference holding in Abuja is at the instance of the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. David Irie reports.
Concerned by the growing division among Nigerians and need for peaceful coexistence, Utuk Dialogue Turkey and the IPCR are seeking to build love and tolerance as tools for peace and harmony among the people with the theme, Harmony Through Compassion, Embracing Diversity in Pursuit of Peace.
Centrally, we are using the 8 priorities areas of Mr. President Tinubu, to try to emphasize the issues around inclusion. We are also looking at the 4Ds in terms of democracy, our demography. We need to have enlightened citizenship, to ensure that we have a much more better society for us to coexist. and to thrive, for us to have stability, peace, and development in Nigeria.
Let's work towards societies where love and tolerance are not just idea, but part of our everyday lives. This means standing up for justice, equality, and human rights. By challenging our own biases and embracing diversity, we can work where everyone feels valued and respected.
The Nigerian government and religious leaders believe that peace is the only key to development and must not be taken for granted.
We should be able to be convinced of our faith and still acknowledge that others also have a similar conviction about their own faith, and they have a right to hold it.
All citizens to embrace peace. Only bedrock that can bring out Nigeria from this quagmire and give us a stable Nigeria.
Participants at the two-day conference are drawn from security agencies, relevant non-governmental organizations, public institutions, and religious bodies. In Abuja, David Ire, NTA News.
And now a quick look at the weather prospect for Friday in Nigeria in some parts of the world. The weather report concludes the news tonight. Many thanks for watching. I am Charles Alpha. My sign language interpreter has been Anna Alaika.